Good afternoon. This is Blue Laker at Radio Tribune. Yes, right here in Las Vegas, Radio Tribune. And my show, Cobra USA. Cobra USA. I'm going to tell you, because we're a relatively new program, tell you exactly what Cobra USA is about. It's actually about the law. Oh, the law. Well, isn't Cobra a snake? Well, yes, it is, and no, it ain't. Cobra is a law that was passed by Ronald Reagan in 1985, and it was designed to take care of people who wanted extended coverage on their insurance when they lost their job, either voluntarily or involuntarily. And it can last up to 18 months. There are a lot of advantages to being able to do that, because if you have a good health plan and you want to continue it and not be subject to some of the other plans that are out there, you can continue it when you are under Cobra. Now people say, well, that's an expensive program. Well, what isn't? Maybe if you want the coverage, if you like who you're dealing with as far as the doctors and hospitals and other things are concerned, there is a price to pay. But that's the regular Cobra program. That's nothing to do with King Cobra. It is because King Cobra is based on the original program by Ronald Reagan. So why is there a difference? Well, there's a difference because it can be amended to fit today's needs, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for satisfaction that can go to literally anybody in the walk of life. How does that work? You know, we have 330 million people here in the United States. 330 million people here in the United States. What would that mean if we had to cover each and every single one of them? Financially, it would be a disaster, something we probably couldn't overcome. But if it was handled properly, it could be turned into an asset. We could turn liabilities into an asset. And have you ever heard of a program that allows you to make money? That an insurance program that would allow you to make money? Well, let's get two things straight from the beginning. First of all, Cobra itself is not an insurance program. It is a law mandated in 1985 under Ronald Reagan. The law of Cobra is 48 pages long, but it's easily acceptable, or I should say available, on the internet. So if you simply want to find out what Cobra is, and you don't want to read 10,000 pages like Nancy Pelosi indicated we should do after they pass the law, here's a law that's already in existence. So it doesn't require us to go through the legislative in order to put it into action. What we simply need to do, as we have talked about with other laws that are not enforced, especially along the border, especially dealing with immigration, they're ignored. We don't pay any attention to them. But now, when the safety and health of citizens of the United States is at stake, we have to explore every option available. And we can't wait 2-3 years to make it happen. We can't wait for the bickering or the smoke to clear, because the smoke is there everywhere we go. Oh, yes, is it going to please everyone? Probably not. There's always going to be opposition. I don't care if you got the goose that laid the golden egg. There's going to be someone saying, hey, those are brass eggs. So we have to come to a consensus on what is absolutely necessary and what and where and how we can amend different things to make them work. That is right. Yeah, we have to consolidate. We have to have concessions, and we have to make it right so that everybody is happy. Everybody that has insurance or wants health protection has got to fit in there someplace. Now, Is it going to be equal? Well, yes and no. Because you see, under Cobra, all pre-existing conditions are still in force for up to 18 months while you're under the Cobra plan. Well, now wait a minute. Okay, you're telling me that existing Cobra is only good for 18 months? Well, yeah, it's only good for 18 months. It's the law. So you have to say, okay, well, what's going to happen during this next 18 months? Well, if we enact King Cobra by amending Cobra, we can get into it immediately. All we need to do is make sure that the primary purpose is achieved. So, we know that we really don't have any control over what happens necessarily in our body. You know, that there's things that come up, whether we want them, it doesn't matter whether it's a hernia, a pulled muscle, you know, bronchitis, cancer, all those things, they're here. And we do our best to cover that. On the other hand, we can't necessarily get into expenses so great that we cannot afford them and we place the burden on everybody. No. There are ways that this can be done. Oh, yes, I know that we have hundreds of thousands of representatives, lobbyists, and everything else running around telling you what they can't do. And I'm saying, forget it. Let's talk about what we can do. If we can achieve a program that's acceptable by the majority of people in the United States, then we have a program that's going to work. We can't have bitter disputes between political factions who are not trying to work together, but to try to pull it apart so that they can diminish the efforts of the current administration. So it's time that we came together with a comprehensive plan, and I believe that plan is called King Cobra. Now, I mentioned to you before that we're going to have to separate the high risk from the low risk. However, that doesn't mean necessarily that we are cutting costs as you might think. But what about if you were investing in a program and you got your money back with interest at the end of the year? Would that sound interesting to you? Would you be willing to join in uniting America in a health program that will work? Well, I think for the most part, people would like to do that. They want to feel safe and secure when they're investing their money. Unfortunately, in the stock market, we know it's up and down, and you pick winners and you pick losers. That's too bad, because, well, I say it's too bad because people would like to always win, but that's not always the case in the stock market. What you have to do is look at the successful businesses and how they operate. So I want to talk about that for a second. You see, you know, if you are going to an auction, I don't care, automobile auction, furniture auction, or whatever, you can expect to pay cash when you get there. But you're getting something. You're getting a car, you're getting a piece of furniture, a pool table, who knows? Many, many things. But you're doing it because you felt that you're getting a great price, and so it wasn't as expensive as going out and buying it brand new. Now, on the other hand, the reason I mention auctions is this. The auction companies themselves do not own the merchandise that they sell. That merchandise is either consigned. In some cases, the auctions will actually buy a whole house and then it's theirs and they'll dispense the profits accordingly. But for the most part, in an auction with thousands of cars in it, for example, the auction doesn't own any of them. They're basically consigned, and when they get sold, the seller gets their money. Now let's look at another situation. What about banks? How do they operate? Well, they operate with opium. Opium? Well, yes, but not the dope. Opium is other people's money. The banks don't have any money of their own. They didn't start by saying, hey, we got $20 million here, come and get it. No, they operate with your money, with my money. And they charge excessive fees for simple things like a bad check or return check or other services that they use to pay the administration of that bank. Well, how does a bank make money? Again, they use opium, other people's money, to make investments that are profitable for the bank, and that's how they're able to carry on with the business and to take care of the stockholders and so forth. Well, if the banks can do it, and oh, by the way, you can always go in anytime and get your money back at the bank. Always go in and get your money back. Well, right now, anyway, maybe there's going to come a time, and I do believe that's going to happen, where that may not be the case because the fiat dollar will be gone. We won't use it anymore. Instead, we'll be on the gold standard, or the gold and silver standard, or the gold, silver, and precious metals standard. And that's going to happen. But the point is that no matter what, when we have the banks, they guarantee that your money is safe, that you can come and get it when you want to. However, there's a government override, which basically says that in the event, and you really need to look at this, that they have the ability to come in and grab your money, whether it's in a safety deposit box or in an account. And what happens when that happens to you? You have no money, you can't cash checks, you can't put, your charge card won't work. And so that puts you in a very poor position. And what we're suggesting is much different than that. Much different than that. What we're saying is that by going into King Cobra and making payments to the King Cobra plan, you will be able to have tax credits that are accumulating during the year. And those tax credits are good for money that you owe to the federal government. But instead of paying interest to the federal government, the repository has an obligation to make money. Oh yes, remember, the banks make money on your money. That's how they operate, just like the auctions and other businesses. They're not using their own. Their money is not at risk. Yours is under the government program. Under King Cobra, it's a much different story. Not only do they guarantee that you're going to get your money back in the form of a tax credit and or a cash dividend, but if you take a cash dividend, then the money that you owe to the taxes you're going to have to pay. So you've got to look at it a couple different ways. But the most important thing is that you are investing in an effort to help others without having the cost of helping others. So I know that sounds a little complicated, but it's really not if you think about it. And you add, it's simple. 2 and 2 makes 4. And to change what has been a liability into an asset for you so that you can feel comfortable in not only having the insurance that you need, but having it at a lower cost, lower premiums, lower deductible, and making those monthly payments using the tax credit and or cash at the end of the year. So we have a lot to think about, but we cannot continue with the political dissent that's happening today and us not being able to come together and figure this out. I mean, look, there's 330 million people in the United States. Well, that's the number that I've been quoted. And if we don't have someone in there that is willing to pick the ball up and carry it, we got a problem. And we have to have rules and regulations, just like they have in football, basketball, or any other thing. There's rules and regulations that have to be followed and adhered to, and umpires to make sure that those rules and regulations are followed. And we see this all the time in different games, whether it's boxing, football, basketball, baseball, all of those things. They all have referees to make sure that the rules are carried out. And they can be called administrators, they can be called umpires, referees, whatever you want to call them. And if they don't do their job, they're done. If they do their job, and there may be some rewards for them, but it's not about the rewards as much as it is for the people, knowing that they have the safety and liquidity of not only health and safety, but an investment that's going to return to them. So when you stop to think about all the bickering and mumbling between both the parties and in the parties, and I don't want this and I ain't going to do that, well, you know what? One individual, or half a dozen individuals, or 20,000 individuals do not control the destiny of the United States. We do, we all do. It's our part to get together to make sure that we don't fall apart and to heal any wounds that have been there. And let's not make this a political stance. Let's make it a stance for America. When we do that, we allow America to become strong again. And if our program is the best in the world, others will copy it. Now, there's a lot to do with making that happen. Not only is it the health and safety of the United States, it's the monetary system that we have that is obsolete and is going to go away. So these pieces to this jigsaw puzzle need to come together and combine to make us great again. That's what Donald said. That's what he meant. He also said he would be our voice. And the only way he's going to hear our voice is if we make sure he does. And how can we do that? We can write, we can tweet, we can put it on Facebook, we can a number of ways that we can get people to come together and say, yes, I like that. But of course, before you do that, we're not going to be like Pelosi says, pass it and then read it, and it's 10,000 pages long. No. We're saying it's only 48 pages long as far as the law is concerned. And then there's some amendments and so forth, and there's some rules and regulations that, as far as being qualified to enter these different programs. But they're not harsh. And if you have existing coverage now and you like it, you can continue with it for at least 18 months. So take the time and the effort to delve into Cobra and go on the internet and just go into the law of Cobra. And you'll be able to read it for yourself, and you can then make an intelligent decision as to whether or not that program fits you, or you need to go into King Cobra, which is an extension of Cobra and slightly different. Well, the payments and so forth are different. And that's because you can't penalize people who have good health. That's not right. But you can get them to invest in others' health, basically an insurance plan, and a plan that's going to make sense to them. When we do that, then we're going to end the bickering, we're going to end Obamacare, and we're going to be able to move on and accomplish the other things that the administration has already laid out. I hear consistently, well, this, that, and he didn't do this, he didn't do that, and he didn't pay his taxes. Well, guess what? Looks like he did. Looks like he not only paid his taxes, but he paid more than some of the other people who have run for office, whether it be president, vice president, or whatever. Okay, so it looks like that's no longer anything that we should consider or take time to even look at. We need to move on. Oh, and by the way, there's other things too. For example, cooperation and our ability to remain as the International Monetary Fund Reserve. That's very important. Additionally, we've talked about the safety and health of the population, but we haven't talked about the security of the nation. Now, the security of the nation, as we know, has been jeopardized by ISIS and radical Islamic terrorists. We're going to reduce that list of plan from 110,000 members of the Muslim community to 50,000. Well, I don't know that that's enough. Are you going to tell me or other people that in that 50,000 that potentially are coming into the United States, there's no radical Islamists? Well, look at some of the people who have been here, who have passed the mustard test, who have had high security clearances, who have worked around that, and then tell me that we can properly vet every single person. And I say, no, we don't know the dark secrets that lurk in the shadows of people's minds. And that's pretty evident. Can we afford to take a chance? No, we can't. We have to stop. We have to make sure that we've stopped the terrorism so that we can be safe and that no one is able to infiltrate this country in a destructive manner. So, you know, if you're a Muslim, there's the Quran that you have to follow. That Quran is fairly straightforward, and it talks about the infidels, which apparently all Christians are infidels, and what they feel that has to be done in order to spread Islam. Well, you know, I guess we could lay down, but this country has never done that. We have never really laid down in the face of the enemy. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a battle between Allah and God. And I believe that God's on our side as Christians, that we have the right to have our Christian faith and practices that we have learned over our lifetimes, and not to subject ourselves to terror, torture, and killings that Islam professes. You know, there were 93 acts that were signed into law by the Obama administration against Christianity. 93 laws that were signed into law by the Obama administration against Christianity. And of course, we've had 35 or more attacks here in the United States, right here in the United States, with thousands and thousands of people being killed, right here in the United States. Should we just sit on our hands and do nothing? Where's the next attack coming? It's going to be in the school. Are we going to lose children? And what about all of the protests taking place across the country by Muslims against the infidels, throwing rocks and other things, with apparently no reprisals? You know, it really makes me wonder what's going on and how we can effectively turn the corner and get it back to a world of sanity. not just here in the United States, but in every country. In order to do that, we're going to have people and countries who will back us. One of those countries, and I know when I say the word Russia, people say, "Oh my God, not Russia. What's the matter with you? You stupid?" No, I'm not stupid. You see, Russia and the United States are the two major powers in the world, the two most powerful nations in the world, with both nuclear and financial worth. And it makes sense for us to work together with the Russians, who, by the way, have worked with us in the past in different wars. But we've been brainwashed. We've been brainwashed by people who say, "Oh, well, they killed 20 million people during the Second World War." Hey, look, there were 1 million people killed in the American Civil War. You know, death surrounds us. Death is something that we have to come to expect, whether it's by rogue nations or even, many ways that we're not going to live forever, not here on this earth. If we deserve the kingdom of God, then we have something to look forward to. But we're not going to have to stand for someone coming into this country and changing our values and our culture so that we can comply with theirs. No, that's not the way it works. And as long as we have the ability to counter those, we will never, ever surrender. So I want to remind you that this is Blue Laker. This is the Blue Laker Show, and you're here today, I hope, to get an education, and I don't mind being wrong. If someone has a different idea, we welcome to come on the show, to call into the show, to talk about options that perhaps we have not seen or heard about. And again, President Trump has said, "I will be your voice when I'm elected." Well, he's been elected, and he's countering a lot of the attacks that, whether it's the Democrats or other organizations that have been supplied by antagonists to run the gamut. Well, I'm hoping that that's going to stop, and stop very soon. So, in my closing remarks today, I would like you to know that America is about Americans first, foremost, and we must protect our rights with whatever we need to do to make sure that America succeeds again, and unlike other empires that have fallen, rise like the phoenix again and be the world leader, and do it for that 1,000 years of peace we've been promised. So in closing, this is Blue Laker at Radio Tribune, and the name of the show is Cobra USA. I hope you'll become a consistent follower and call us. Call and tell us what you feel is right. Call us and be a guest on the show so that we can air your opinions. Isn't that what it's all about? Sharing. We don't have to share our wealth, but we really need to share our intelligence. And we're all gifted with different talents. Some musical, some theatrical, some scientific. And a lot of ideas go unheard because they are not put forth to where people can listen to them and make a decision on them. But you have that opportunity today to do just exactly that. So be looking forward to more information at Cobra USA and Radio Tribune. This is Blue Laker. I'm signing off for today. Look forward to hearing from you in the near future.